Have you ever felt a little lost after retiring? Like your days suddenly had no direction? For many seniors, retirement feels less like freedom and more like floating in a strange kind of silence. The structure is gone. The identity built over decades faded. The calendar that was once full now sits mostly blank. And though rest was long overdue, something still feels off. Maybe you've even caught yourself wondering, is this really it? But here's the thing, not all seniors feel this way. Some step into retirement and come alive in ways they never imagined. And what separates them from the rest isn't money or luck or even health. It's the small things they do consistently, intentionally, that shape each day into something meaningful. In this video, we're going to walk through 8 powerful habits that help seniors avoid the loneliness, confusion, and emotional drift that so often creep in after retirement. These aren't grand, complicated life overhauls. They're simple, realistic steps you can take to bring purpose, rhythm, and connection back into your days. Even if you've been feeling a little lost, stay with me through the end, because we're not just listing tips, we're diving deep into the psychology behind why these work and how each one can help rebuild your sense of self, one quiet, powerful moment at a time. Let's get started. Number 1, a consistent morning routine. One of the clearest signs that a retired person is not feeling lost is the way they begin their day. A solid, predictable morning routine may seem like a small thing, but it has a powerful psychological effect. It tells your brain, I still have somewhere to be. I still have something to do. And that message alone can reshape your entire day. You don't need a complex schedule or a long checklist. It can be as simple as waking up at the same time each morning, making your bed, stretching your legs, and sitting down with a cup of coffee in the same sunny spot. That's not just routine, it's rhythm. And rhythm is what most people lose after they stop working. When every day looks the same, the mind starts to drift, and that's when boredom turns into something heavier, like depression or confusion about your place in the world. The psychological power of a routine lies in something called cognitive anchoring. It grounds you. It gives your day a beginning, and that makes it easier to move forward with purpose. It's why military veterans, athletes, and successful artists often swear by their morning rituals, because routine creates momentum, and momentum brings back meaning. I knew a man named Harold. He was 79 when he retired from his second career. At first, he enjoyed the freedom. No alarm clocks, no deadlines. But within a few months, he started sleeping in late, skipping breakfast, and turning on the television as soon as he got up. Slowly, he started to feel dull, even though nothing was wrong on the surface. Then one day, he decided to try something different. He began waking up at 7 a.m. every morning, shaving, getting dressed, and going for a 15-minute walk around the block. That tiny shift changed everything. He told me, I don't feel retired anymore. I just feel free with direction. If you've been waking up without a plan, start there. Choose 2 or 3 things you'll do each morning. Something physical, something calming, and something that signals the day has begun. You don't need a reason to do it. The routine is the reason, and over time, it becomes the scaffolding that holds the rest of your life together. Number 2, a new role or identity. One of the most common emotional hurdles after retirement is the sudden loss of identity. For decades, who you were might have been tied closely to what you did: teacher, engineer, nurse, business owner, or builder. And when that title disappears, it's not just the job that's gone, it's the conversations, the sense of importance, the reason to get dressed in the morning. But those who thrive after retirement, they don't just let go of the old role. They replace it with something new. Taking on a new role doesn't have to mean starting a second career or making a big announcement. It simply means redefining yourself in a way that feels meaningful. Maybe you become the neighborhood fixer-upper. Maybe you start calling yourself a gardener, a writer, a grandchild's mentor, or the family memory keeper. The title doesn't have to be grand. It just has to feel true to you. Psychologically, humans crave identity. It helps shape our sense of belonging and purpose. Without it, days blend together and self-worth can quietly erode. But once you give yourself permission to adopt a new identity, your brain starts to build structure around it. You begin to ask different questions. What would a woodworker do with this weekend? What would a community volunteer do with their mornings? Those questions lead to action, and action restores clarity. I remember speaking with a woman named Nancy, 72 years old, who had been a high school counselor for most of her life. After she retired, she felt completely adrift. Then, after helping a friend through a hard time, she realized she still had that gift for listening. She started hosting what she called coffee chats for other women in her apartment complex. Just casual get-togethers to talk through life's ups and downs. She told me, "I don't work anymore, but I'm still a counselor. I just don't have the office anymore." That shift in how she saw herself changed everything. Her confidence returned, her calendar started filling, and the people around her began to reflect back that sense of value because she believed it first. If you've been feeling like a former version of yourself, like you're stuck in the in-between, try choosing a new name for this chapter of your life. Call yourself something. Claim something, even if no one else does at first, because identity isn't about what you've lost. It's about what you're building now. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, reconnecting with old passions or hobbies. Another defining trait of seniors who don't feel lost after retirement is that they rediscover something they used to love but may have set aside years ago. Passion doesn't disappear with age. It just gets buried under schedules, responsibilities, and the noise of daily life. But when the distractions fall away and the pressure to perform is lifted, what's left behind is a quiet opportunity to pick up where you left off. Many people think they need to find a new hobby after retirement, but in truth, the best ones are often the old ones. The things that made you feel alive when you were younger, the activities that made time disappear, tinkering with cars, working with wood, writing poetry you never showed anyone. These aren't just pastimes. They're windows back into who you've always been. From a psychological standpoint, reconnecting with past interest triggers something called retrieval-induced emotion. This means that engaging in something familiar from the past brings up old positive emotions that reinforce your current sense of identity and joy. It's more than entertainment. It's emotional restoration. You remember not only how to do something, but how it made you feel. And that feeling brings warmth, clarity, and enthusiasm back into your life. I once met a man named Roger, 76, who used to play harmonica in a local blues group when he was in his 20s. After starting a family and working for decades in logistics, that harmonica sat untouched in a drawer. 5 years after retiring on a quiet winter evening, he picked it up again. It felt clumsy at first, but his hands remembered. Within weeks, he was playing again at the senior center down the road. He said, "I thought that part of me was gone. Turns out it was just waiting." That's often all it takes, a quiet hour, a gentle nudge, and a little curiosity. And the beauty of retirement is that you finally have the space to follow that curiosity without pressure. You don't need to be good at it. You just need to enjoy it. You don't need to turn it into something productive. You just need to let it remind you that you're more than a resume or a role you once held. If you can't think of a hobby right away, try thinking in categories. What did you used to do with your hands? What did you do just for fun before life got too busy? What did you stop doing, not because you didn't love it, but because something else became more urgent? Once you reconnect with that part of yourself, something interesting happens. The days don't feel so empty anymore because now they're filled with pieces of the real you, the parts that never got old, they just got quiet. Number 4, staying physically active with purpose. One of the easiest traps to fall into after retirement is slowing down just a little too much. And it's not just about physical health. It's about energy, clarity, and emotional stability. The retirees who feel grounded and fully alive aren't necessarily the ones lifting weights or running marathons. They're the ones who move their bodies on purpose in ways that feel meaningful, steady, and connected to life. Physical activity does something important inside the brain. It helps regulate hormones like dopamine and serotonin, chemicals tied to happiness, focus, and motivation. It also improves sleep, which is one of the first things to get disrupted when your daily routine disappears. But even more than that, regular movement tells your nervous system that you're still here, still engaged, still choosing to participate in life, not just observe it. It's not about intensity, it's about intention. Some seniors walk their dog every morning and greet neighbors along the way. Others join a Tai Chi class at the local community center. Some garden, rake leaves, or dance slowly in the living room with music from the old days playing softly. These aren't workouts, they're rituals. And rituals build rhythm. There's also something called embodied cognition, the psychological principle that movement and thought are deeply connected. In other words, when your body moves with purpose, your mind becomes clearer. You process better, you reflect better, you feel better. Let me tell you about Patricia. She's 81, widowed, and lives alone in a quiet suburb. For a while after her husband passed, she stayed in, barely moved, watched the seasons pass from the window. Then, one spring morning, she joined a walking club at the local church. It wasn't fast-paced or competitive, just a group of 5 women who walked the neighborhood 3 times a week. The change in her demeanor was noticeable. Her voice got stronger. Her steps became more sure. She said, "I used to feel like the world was getting smaller. Now I feel like I'm part of it again. And that's exactly what movement does. It pulls you back into participation. It tells your legs they're still needed, your heart, it still matters, and your presence, it still counts. If you're feeling disconnected or low on energy, try moving with purpose. Something small, something steady. Even 10 minutes outside, breathing fresh air and stretching your limbs can begin to shift your chemistry. You'll notice it in how you think, how you sleep, and how you interact with others. Because motion creates momentum, and momentum carries meaning. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5, nurturing one-on-one connections. After retirement, one of the most unexpected shifts is how your social world begins to shrink without the built-in interactions from work. Many people find themselves going days or even weeks without meaningful conversation. The retirees who don't get lost in that silence are the ones who prioritize depth over frequency. They don't just socialize, they connect. It's not about being the most outgoing person in the room or filling your calendar with events. It's about maintaining real one-on-one conversations that make you feel seen and heard. Whether it's a phone call with an old friend, a long chat over coffee with a neighbor, or a walk around the block with someone who listens more than they talk, those quiet exchanges are what refill your emotional tank. From a psychological perspective, deep interpersonal connection activates areas of the brain linked to reward and emotional regulation. It reduces stress, boosts resilience, and even helps protect memory and cognitive function as you age. In short, when you feel connected, you feel alive. I remember a man named Joe. He was 74 and had been retired for nearly a decade. When I asked him how he stayed so emotionally steady, he said, "Every Wednesday I call my old fishing buddy from Ohio. We talk about everything and nothing. That one call keeps me grounded for the whole week." That's it. One meaningful interaction. Not loud, not flashy, just real. The truth is, you don't need a crowd. You need consistency. A few relationships that you water regularly, people who know your stories and still want to hear them again. People who let you pause in the middle of a sentence and finish when you're ready. That kind of presence is rare and precious. If you felt disconnected, you're not alone. But someone out there probably misses hearing your voice just as much as you miss theirs. Start with one person, one genuine conversation. It could be a sibling, a cousin, a neighbor, or someone you haven't spoken to in years. The goal isn't to fix loneliness overnight. It's to rebuild connection one moment at a time. And sometimes that moment starts with you making the first call. Number 6, volunteering or serving in small ways. One powerful difference between seniors who feel lost and those who feel fulfilled is how they relate to others. Not in terms of what they receive, but in what they give. Volunteering doesn't just help the world. It helps you remember your own value. And it doesn't have to be big or public or even organized. Sometimes the smallest gestures create the biggest internal shift. Psychologists call this pro-social behavior, and it's deeply linked to purpose and emotional well-being. When you serve others, whether by offering your time, attention, or even just your presence, you activate parts of the brain associated with meaning and connection. You feel useful, alive, and for many retirees, that feeling is more important than any paycheck ever was. The service doesn't need a title or a committee. Maybe you walk a neighbor's dog because they can't. Maybe you drive someone to a medical appointment or sit beside a friend while they wait for test results. Maybe you bring soup to someone who's grieving. These aren't acts of charity. They're acts of shared humanity. Let me tell you about Robert, 79, who never saw himself as a volunteer type. But after his wife passed, he found himself with long afternoons and too much silence. One day, he saw a flyer at the grocery store asking for help at the local library's reading hour. He decided to show up just once. That was 4 years ago. Today, he reads to kids every Tuesday, and he says, "Those 30 minutes remind me I still have something to give. And they remind me that I still have something to feel." That's the quiet beauty of serving. It pulls you out of your own head and into someone else's story. It keeps your heart soft, your presence valuable, and your life full of meaning, not because you're rescuing anyone, but because you're connecting with them. If you're not sure where to start, begin with your circle. Is there someone who could use a check-in, a ride, a meal, or simply your company? You don't have to fix anyone's life. You just have to show up. When you do, you'll notice that you don't feel quite so lost anymore because helping someone else find their footing often brings you back to your own. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 7, avoiding passive consumption and staying mentally engaged. One of the silent dangers of retirement is the temptation to spend large parts of the day in passive consumption. Endless television, scrolling through news, or simply letting the hours drift without direction. While some downtime is healthy, too much of it can quietly drain your mental energy and leave you feeling disconnected from life. The retirees who don't feel lost are the ones who continue to engage, not just entertain themselves. Staying mentally active doesn't require enrolling in a university or mastering something difficult. It simply means choosing activities that stimulate your mind rather than lull it. Reading a good book, doing puzzles, journaling your thoughts, learning a new recipe, or watching a documentary that makes you think. These are small but mighty choices that keep your brain alert and your spirit curious. There's a principle in cognitive psychology called neuroplasticity, which means your brain continues to grow and adapt well into older age as long as you keep using it. The more you challenge your thinking, the more you reinforce mental sharpness, memory, and emotional regulation. In fact, studies have shown that seniors who stay mentally stimulated experience less cognitive decline and report higher levels of life satisfaction. I remember Ellen, 84, who told me she started a little notebook after retirement titled "Things I'm Still Learning Every Day." She would jot down one new thing, a word she didn't know, a quote she liked, a bird she saw in the yard. That simple habit gave her a sense of progress. She said, "Just because I'm older doesn't mean I've stopped growing. I'm just growing quieter now. That's the kind of engagement that matters. It's not about proving something. It's about feeding the part of you that still wants to discover, still wants to create, still wants to understand. Passive habits might fill the time, but active ones fill the heart and mind. If you found yourself reaching for the remote out of habit more than joy, try changing the pattern just a little. Replace 30 minutes of TV with something that invites you to think or feel. It doesn't have to be complex, just intentional. Because every time you challenge your mind, you reinforce your presence in the world. And that's one of the clearest signs that you're not lost. You're still choosing to be here. Number 8, creating a weekly rhythm to look forward to. One of the quiet reasons many seniors feel adrift after retirement is because their days all start to look the same. Without meetings, deadlines, or regular events, time can begin to feel shapeless, like one long, unbroken stretch. But those who stay grounded and fulfilled after retirement often have one powerful thing in common. They build a weekly rhythm, something to look forward to, something to count on. It doesn't have to be elaborate. In fact, the simpler it is, the better. It might be a Friday walk to the farmer's market, Sunday lunch with an old friend, or a Wednesday morning coffee at the same cafe where they read the paper and chat with the barista. What matters isn't the size of the event. It's the meaning attached to it. Psychologically, this is connected to what researchers call anticipatory reward. It means your brain experiences a positive emotional lift before the event even happens. Just knowing something enjoyable is coming builds excitement, keeps your days organized, and gives purpose to the space between. It adds structure back into your week without needing a job or a packed calendar. Think about it this way. Children thrive when they know what's coming next. So do adults. So do we. That rhythm creates emotional safety. It gives you a small sense of control, and it reminds you that your life still has pace and pattern, even if you're the one creating it. Now, I once spoke with Leonard, 78, who told me about his Tuesday routine. Every Tuesday, without fail, he made a pot of homemade chili, watched an old Western movie, and called his daughter in Arizona. He said, "It's simple, but it's mine, and it gives my week a heartbeat." That heartbeat, that predictable little joy, is what makes retirement feel less like drifting and more like living. If you've lost track of time lately, try choosing just one activity to anchor your week, something small, something repeatable, then stick to it. Over time, those little rituals begin to form the outline of a life that feels steady, personal, and alive again. Because when you start looking forward to something, even something quiet, you give your future a shape. And in doing that, you remind yourself that your days still have purpose and your present still matters. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, I want you to take a quiet moment to reflect. Which of these 8 habits spoke to you the most? Was it the idea of finding a rhythm again? Or maybe the thought of picking up something you once loved? Maybe you've already been doing a few of these things without realizing how important they are. Or maybe today is your wake-up call, that being retired doesn't mean being finished. It just means you get to write your own rules now. The truth is, most seniors do feel a little lost after retirement. It's not a failure. It's a natural part of stepping away from decades of structure, identity, and momentum But what separates those who get stuck from those who thrive isn't age, talent, or money. It's choice. It's intention. It's deciding to show up for yourself again, even in the smallest of ways. Because these simple habits we talked about today, they're not chores. They're invitations to reconnect, to reclaim your life in a way that feels honest and meaningful. So, what's one thing you're going to try this week? One small change that moves you from drifting to choosing? I'd love to hear about it. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.